Don't mind me looking at my car. I'm just pulling out my notepad.
Oh, please.
No worries.
Yeah. All right, so. What's that? How does the camera look?
It's something came up to edit settings, title, description.
Oh, you can close that.
Oh. Wow. Join Superpower Soap as we make soap from scratch.
Let's go to the IG. How do I get to the live? I think it's here. Oh. Hello? Let's start now. All right, I think I'm live. How exciting. Well, good morning. Hello, Houston, Texas. Very happy to have you here. My name is Priscilla Mensah, and I run Superpower Soap, where I teach people how to make handmade soap from scratch using ingredients that are natural and great for your skin. And today you're going to follow along as I make a 3-ingredient soap. It's a wonderful 100% olive oil soap that uses 3 main ingredients. So I'm very happy that you're here and joining along on the ride. And I'm still setting up. As you can see here, I've got my table full of ingredients here at the lovely kitchen in the canyon. So follow along as we get started. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments here. And for those who are following along on YouTube, hello. Also, please feel free to leave comments as I go, if anything is unclear. All right, guys. Thanks. Thank you. All right, so it's still live on the phone, so I'm going to pop this on.
Oh.
And this is our first time going live, so we are going to figure some things out as we go, and that's like the whole fun of even doing things like this. Yeah, I was kind of like in a little bit of a rush and forgot to grab the mounts, but I think we're going to be cool. I think it's going to work out beautifully. Okay. Awesome. So would you like to come closer to get a view of what's going on over here? All right, cool. Would you like to come closer, Juliana, or are you cool?
The soapmaking is like behind that. I probably wouldn't see. Like
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yes. Yep, no one's going to see
I
that.
can sit on this one. Too old for that.
Awesome. Okay. And
Sorry.
all right. Am I visible in this one?
Yeah, we can only see you down.
Yeah.
All right.
That's why I was trying to find something to
Do
pop
you
up.
mind holding it a little bit?
So you got to come up and learn. I sure want to learn this, you know?
Oh, I love to hear that.
This is my second or what? Second
This is your second time seeing me make soap, and
Yeah.
this could be maybe like
Yeah.
my 111th time making soap. So,
Yeah.
all about that.
Better, but still no.
Okay, so yeah, I think it'll be
And I'm gonna
cool.
lose the
You
keyboard.
can take the keyboard off. And then the other thing is maybe you can pick it up and kind of move it around and then set it down when I get into it.
No.
Yeah.
you could be
All right,
the
guys.
cameraman.
So this
Yeah.
is like, this is real life, okay? This is how it's done behind the
Is it
scenes.
better?
You get an opportunity to see the that
Yeah,
up?
you can see her face.
Yeah. Here, let me sit there, Julie.
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry.
All
Gotta be
right.
your daddy when he take your picture. You always take your head off. And then you
Oh
won't
my
see
gosh,
it.
yeah.
That's not how to take picture, daddy.
I remember those days. That was and my mom's reminding me of my dad. So when he would take photos, he would always just like he was the worst photographer and would just like forget we had heads. And so it would just be awkward angles and it's like, what are you taking a picture of? So that's a funny memory.
Yeah, now we can see you. Yeah.
Yay! All right, are we feeling good? Are you feeling good? Are you
Oh,
feeling good?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
All right, feeling good. All right, y'all got your donuts, you got your
Mhm.
drinks.
I was
your
gonna come with
comfortable-
Spencer, but
Yeah.
you didn't get up. I'm like, okay.
Well, thankfully, to everyone in the room here and also to YouTube and Instagram, I'll be doing these soap making events more regularly in the Houston area, and maybe I'll be popping up in a city near you. So, if you're interested in bringing soap making to where you are in the world, send me a DM and we can talk. All right.
Good.
So I'm so excited. I explained a little bit to the people who came earlier today that it's been over a year since I've done a live soap making training, and I'm so excited. I even did a little makeup, got a little dressed up, because I'm just buzzing with energy.
Mhm.
And the reason why I love to teach soap making is because I remember that first time I learned how to make soap. It was in Portland, Oregon. And the interesting thing is, I was working in the insurance industry at the time. I was doing risk and safety control, meaning I would have to go to different businesses and help them figure out what is the riskiest part of your operation and how can we secure it so we don't have to pay out big claims, right?
And you're only 30 years old, 33. You done a lot. I've been.
Mhm.
You and your wife.
At the time, I was
I've done a
about
lot.
like 24, 25 years old living in Portland. It was 2014.
14.
And so I had an assignment to learn how soap making operations work and how to secure them so that way they would be less risky. So that means I had to learn the entire soap making process and be able to also provide recommendations on how to make it more safe. And when I saw how soap was made on the first YouTube video, I was completely surprised. I never knew that soap was made from oils. I didn't know what sodium hydroxide was. I was extremely intrigued right from the get-go. So after watching about like 50,000 soap making videos, I finally got the confidence to try it myself, but I was pretty scared. And so I ended up going to amazing soap making instructors in the Portland area, and they were able to show me step by step how to take the ingredients that are just like the ones you see here in front of me and turn that into soap successfully time and time again. And then from there, I've just continued doing this. And the funny thing is, I didn't realize that both of my grandmothers actually were soap makers. And I didn't know that until last year when my mom actually shared with me, oh, we were actually in Ghana and I was doing a soap making class there with a local teacher. And my mom had mentioned, oh yeah, your grandmother made soap, and oh, I think your other grandmother did too. And she's like, oh yeah, they would bring it from the village. And I was so surprised, and it really kind of showed me that maybe there's something more to soap making. Maybe it's a way for my grandmothers to communicate with me and to share something that they may have enjoyed and loved, and kind of bringing it to me in this generation. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm so excited to share things with you. All right.
Good.
Any questions? No? Okay, awesome stuff. All right, so to begin, what I'm going to do is put my gloves on, as you can see, because safety is important, and you've got to have safety first. I'm going to talk to you about the safety equipment because I think that is of the utmost importance when you're making soap. You need to wear long sleeves. You need to have your hands protected. You also want to make sure you've got long pants on and socks and shoes.
Good.
Close to
Yes.
That's it.
And the reason for that is because we're going to deal with a chemical called sodium hydroxide. It's also known as lye. This is used in so many different applications. It's the main ingredient in drain cleaner, right? Is that interesting? Some people use it in cooking. I hear that this ingredient helps make certain kinds of pretzels very buoyant and fluffy. This in particular is a food grade lye that I'm going to use for soap making, but this is a key ingredient. In fact, some people ask, oh, I want soap that doesn't have lye, or you have lye-free soap. It's not possible. It's impossible to make soap without some kind of an acid and base coming together. And for the majority of soap, the base is sodium hydroxide.
So also as
I'm going to say 90% of
90%.
soaps.
Okay.
Because in Africa, we have African black soap, and we don't put sodium hydroxide where we do cocoa and plantain leaves.
Yeah,
that have been dried and crushed. But it has the same
natural.
makeup.
So the same natural.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good question. So what is lye? Lye comes from the ashes of hardwood trees.
Yes.
So hardwood trees are chopped up, they're burned. Those ashes are taken, they're sifted, they're boiled, and then the purest of the ashes is the lye.
That's what they use in the Ghana on.
And that's what they do in
burn
Ghana
the plantain,
as well.
the dry one.
Yes.
And
The leaves.
then they use the ashes.
Yes.
They cook it up.
Yeah, the
So
potash.
that's the lye.
Yes.
I do know it.
You found the lye, that's right.
Was it potash or was it
Potash.
potash?
That's right. So that's the distinction. So some people will say, oh, it has to be this. Maybe if you're from the Western world, it's going to be sodium
but the
hydroxide.
natural one.
But if you're from other parts of the world, you're going to use what's local to you.
Yes.
And so, yeah. But for today's purposes, we're using sodium hydroxide.
So,
Yes, it was.
So the lye, the other ingredients they use, kind of anything that's hardwood or ashes that you can use in like lye.
Yeah, so to make the lye itself, it's the ash of hardwoods, or it could be the ash, as my mom is saying, of cocoa pods and
plantain and palm kernel.
And palm kernel.
For
So
us
that
in
can be used
Africa,
as lye.
is the
It
food
can
that
be
we
used as
eat.
lye in more traditional places.
Yes.
So I would say if you have access to pure lye, it's the best because you're going to have consistent results every time. When you use a homemade version of lye, like the potash, you can't always estimate how strong it's going to be. So it takes longer to cook African soap because there's more variables to it.
Yeah.
But with this lye, because it's made in the lab, you know exactly how strong it is.
How strong.
Yeah, so
How much it
that's-
makes, like all of the concentration
the
of everything that's in
concentration
it.
of lye
Yeah.
here, exactly.
That's why our aunt over there back home, when we were growing up, the soap they make, they call it "Don't Touch Me."
Don't touch me.
Because it was so hot.
It was
You use it.
it would burn your skin.
Make all your hands up. the women go, "Don't touch me."
That's right. We're not making that "don't touch me" soap, okay?
It was so funny.
Yeah, but we bring up a really good point that there was a time, and honestly, like even in the States, before lye was made in a lab, I want to say, I think this started happening like in the 50s or so, that lye was in the grocery stores or available massively. Before that, people were guesstimating how much lye to put in. So in the olden days, people considered natural soap to be the worst because they remember getting their skin burned. Wash your mouth out with soap, kind of thing.
Have peroxide with your mouth, toothpaste, and all that.
Now it's so, and because people were guesstimating the amount, some of the soap would be harsh. Yeah.
Now they don't have "Don't Touch Me."
Yeah. Now we don't have that problem.
No, they don't have because they know how to.
So thank you, science. Thank you, scientists. But these are some really good questions. So keep them coming. I love the interaction.
So you mentioned like the black soap, but well, what is that, or is this the same thing that you just said?
Yeah, so we're talking about African black soap. And so this is a type of soap that is made predominantly in West Africa, where my family is from. And in this soap, it's made up of coconut oil as the main ingredient. Sometimes
Coconut,
palm oil is included as well,
yeah.
and it's combined with potash, which is made up of the ashes
The ashes.
of palm kernels,
And the
cocoa pods,
coconut.
and plantain ashes.
Yes.
So just like we have ash from
Okay.
hardwood
I
trees,
know.
we have ashes from other organic plant material that can be sifted, boiled, and turned into lye.
Yeah, and it's got a real chocolate look and color to it.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it's literally black. So like when people say black soap, it's the
It is
black bar of
good
soap, and it's good. Like
Yeah.
it's like got like
When
a
this rash
Yeah.
on you, you use it, it's clear.
yeah, it's almost like a charcoal like
It's
effect. Like it's good.
it's called a latosamina.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever heard of that term, but if you have, or if you do hear of it, that's the
Same
latosamina.
thing. It's the same
Good.
name. Yeah, different
Very
name,
good
same
soap.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And maybe I'll do one of these events that's about African soap. So
Yes.
we'll see
Yeah.
what I
One
can.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta learn a little more and
Mhm.
share a little more of what I learned. Cool. All right. So back to safety.
Mhm.
Another thing that you're gonna see I have with me here is vinegar, which is this right here is just normal distilled white vinegar.
Okay.
And this is important to have around. In this recipe, we're not going to actually put this inside of our soap, but what we are going to do is, in case there are any spills of sodium hydroxide, I like to keep vinegar around to help you wipe up that spill.
Oh.
And I'll give you a super quick lesson. Vinegar is an acid. It's a 1 on the pH scale. And then we have sodium hydroxide, which is basic and is a 14 on pH scale. So in the extremely unlikely event that we have any spills of this substance, sodium hydroxide, you're going to definitely want to have your gloves on when you clean it up. Don't even try to clean it up with your bare hands because you'll burn yourself. And if you pour vinegar over that spill, you're going to neutralize this to make it more safe to clean up. But you're still going to want to be protected in the process. So I keep vinegar around at all times when I'm soap making.
So white vinegar to neutralize the acid or the smell?
So this is vinegar, which is acidic, and we have sodium hydroxide, which is basic. If we spill this on accident, we're going to pour the acid over the base.
Okay.
And so this will neutralize the chemical reaction
Oh.
of this,
burning.
and it will reduce the likelihood that you'll burn yourself.
Yes.
Yes. Great question. Great question. And this is all about safety. As I mentioned in a previous life, I was an insurance safety consultant, and so safety is always my first priority. And I always get worried whenever I see people making soap and they're not following all the safety protocols, because you can certainly injure yourself and others inadvertently if you are not aware of the best practices, which is why you're here today. I'm happy that y'all are here online following along with this process too. All right, so what we're going to do next in our process, now that we've talked about all the safety things, is actually get to the soap making. So the first thing I'm going to do with my lovely crock pot here is I'm going to turn it on to high. And I'm going to let this crock pot heat up.
Slow cooker.
Slow cooker. Thank you.
Crock pots and burn.
And
They ain't paying us yet.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for the top of my slow cooker.
You forgot? Oh no.
I may have.
Check inside and see. You know you have to go right.
I sure do know. Well, all right. I can improvise. So this is real life. I forgot the top of my slow cooker.
Oh no.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead of making hot process soap, I'm going to do cold process soap.
Okay.
Yes. So
It's all the same soap, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The show will go on.
Amen.
Yes. And the beauty is, sometimes you're going to have all the, fancy tools and equipment, but you really don't need to have the fanciest tools to make soap.
Okay.
You can make it as simply or as luxurious as you want. And so I'm going to dial it down a little bit.
Okay.
I'm still going to keep the crock pot on high.
Okay.
We're going to do a cold process class today.
Okay. Good.
It's going to be great.
All right.
All right. So anyone following along? We're doing cold process
Yeah.
soap making.
Mhm.
We're freestyling, and it's going great.
As long as we get soap, that's all.
Thank you. As long as we end up with soap, that's all that matters.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my measuring cup out,
Okay.
and I have a scale. So it's super important that the scale that you use can measure in ounces, weight ounces,
Okay.
or in grams.
And grams. And where do you get this scale?
So I got this scale from your favorite place, Amazon.com. But you can also get a scale from Walmart,
From Walmart,
or
okay.
any grocery store or online.
What accuracy do you need the decimals, or how? What would you like to see?
I
Good.
would say 2
Because
decimal
what
points.
units and what accuracy? Yeah.
Ounces, weight ounces, gram, and if you're able to, get it within 2 decimal points, that's
Okay.
Okay.
good enough.
Good.
So I currently have, I turned my scale on. I
Mhm.
have it set to ounces.
You get battery things or
It's
you charge it?
battery
okay.
powered.
Oh,
Yes,
battery
Mom.
charge.
And so I'm going to put my measuring cup on top of it,
Mhm.
and I'm going to hit this button here to tare, and that's going to zero the scale out so I can start to measure my
Okay.
Okay. So open up my notebook.
Mhm.
And do we have any comments?
Hmm? In the chat?
Yeah.
No.
All right. See if anyone's looking for us on the media. Okay, cool. Just
Yeah, the last time.
refresh this page, and then we'll see if anybody's lost.
Okay. But there's a couple people on the Instagram.
Mhm.
And actually, grab something.
I know. People along for a ride.
Yes, take people along for the ride.
Yeah.
Ooh. Just gonna give a little spread of all the equipment we have here. Got a stick blender, the
Yeah.
mold, the vinegar,
Mhm.
the sodium hydroxide.
Okay.
Okay, got
You-
some
you-
spatulas, oil,
Is this camera flipped?
and you go to the settings to flip it.
Oh, okay. Because man, that is annoying.
So
It's driving me absolutely crazy.
Good.
Good. Yes.
And hello to everyone who is checking out this live. Hello, Leah. Hello, William. Thank you for joining. Awesome. Okay, and I am pulling up today's recipe. So we're actually going to do a little slight change of program. It's still going to turn out great. So instead of doing the hot process method of soap making, we're going to do the cold process method.
Okay.
And so it's going to be a little bit different, but you'll still have good time.
Mhm. Good.
So it's the cold and hot, like different time it takes to make the soap. Is that the difference?
I'll go into it in detail. Give me 10 seconds. Go here.
Mm-hmm.
So I am pulling up a calculator to double check that the amount of lye that I'm going to add to the recipe is the perfect amount.
Mhm. Okay, she's sleeping. Hmm.
All right. Cool, cool, cool. Like 16 ounces. All right. Hey Ben, I'm gonna need you to just read this out loud to me right here. So just the olive oil amount and the lime amount and the liquid amount. So I'll ask you when to read it. But put back to the Instagram live. Okay. All right.
Okay.
And we're back. Yes. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get started now that we're freestyling this recipe. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out the olive oil. So for this part, I actually don't need my gloves on to measure the olive oil.
Yes.
I'm going to start with 16 ounces of this wonderful, wonderful stuff. The beauty of using olive oil when you're making soap, especially for this recipe that's going to be a 100%, is it actually makes an extremely hard bar of soap, but you do need to let it cure for a long time so you can get those benefits of a nice hard bar. A bar of soap that's made with 100% olive oil, it's not going to make huge, big, lathery bubbles. You can expect a lotiony kind of a lather. That's how people would describe this, as very lotiony, kind of creamy lather when you're using this on your skin. So it's a gentle soap, and honestly, people like to use Castile if they have dry skin, if they have oily skin, if you have sensitive skin, if you're giving, bathing children. It's an excellent soap to use. So we're going to make that today. And I'm going to start with pouring out 16 ounces of this. So nearly the whole bottle.
It's pure olive oil, right?
Pure olive oil, yes. As far as olive oils are concerned, you can have olive oil that is extra virgin olive oil. There is Thomas olive oil, and then there is regular olive oil.
What's the difference?
In soap making, there is essentially no difference. They all have the exact same amount of materials within it that will turn into soap when lye is added to it. It's called, I think it's called a supplantation value, which is great.
What is curate? You said like a term I did not heard of. You said like to like curate.
To
Oh,
cure
cure.
soap.
Yeah.
Yeah, so after you make soap, you have to cure it for at least about 4 weeks to allow enough time for the water in the soap to evaporate, for the lye in the soap to completely be eliminated, and turn every ounce of the oils that were included into the recipe into soap. So there's a curing process.
Oh, so you can't just make the soap and
Use
just,
it immediately.
like, use it
No.
immediately?
No,
Oh,
it's
no?
not recommended. No.
Oh.
So there are some soap makers who there's a lot of things
This is
that
a
are.
highly debated
This is
topic.
this is like a dicey topic in the soap making community.
Okay.
Can you use soap right after you make it? There's some people who are going to swear to you left and right that you should not do this. There are other people who say, I do it all the time, I'm fine. And so what I would recommend doing when you're making soap on your own is to take samples of your soap after you make it, and then just use a little of it the day after you make it, a little like hotel travel size, and try it on your skin. See how it feels. Yes, and then a week later, try another little piece of it, and you're going to feel the texture change. And then when you do it the third and the fourth week, you'll see that fourth week soap is a nice hard bar. It's not melting underneath, the sink. And it's, you're it's feel much better on your skin. So there's a whole thing to it. I'm all about experimentation. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you too many hard and fast rules that are not safety rules. So that's where I'm hard and fast. All right. So now we have our olive oil poured out. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add it to this crock pot here. So I got this, and I'm going to pour this right in.
Wow, you're so good.
I know. It looks good, and it smells good. Olive oil smells great.
Yes.
So to answer your question, Julie, as far as what the difference is, so if you're cooking, the different kind of olive oils that you're using makes a difference. So if you have a salad, you might want to use an extra virgin olive oil.
Uh-huh.
If you're cooking something that's more savory, maybe you're going to use, a regular olive oil. So it doesn't really matter as much when you're making soap because you're cooking. You're going to want to pick an olive oil that's going to complement the flavor of the dish that you're enjoying. So put this to the side, and I'm going to just let this oil heat up. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to measure out our distilled water.
So this is the water. Okay. How hot you heat it up?
So
Oh no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I think I poured it and I left it. All right.
Well, you can use it. I can clean out and all that.
I sure can. Okay.
Does it need to be distilled?
Yes.
What?
So just regular water.
So we're not going to use tap water,
Oh.
and the reason for that,
How much do you need?
I need about 4 ounces.
Okay. I mean, that's a vending machine.
I actually see some tea.
You didn't buy everything last time.
Well, I got excited, so I was refilling my distilled water before I left. So I think that might have been what caused me to leave it on the counter. But like I said,
Sometimes it takes the water.
this is real life, and we're improvising.
You got the feeling is good, right?
Yeah. You still do it?
Oh no, I'm good. This is exciting, like because I'm learning your essays implying to not to do those mistakes.
Yes. Thank you very much. This is what to do and also what not to do. So I like to be real. Yes. Cool. All right.
Yeah, that's how you bring everything.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is fun. All right, and
Curing is just another word for like drying off the oil
Drying.
and lime. Okay.
Yep. Curing is another way to say or talk about drying.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Just no, like I just assume like once you're done, let it cool off or something, and then you just use it right away.
Yeah, and I thought the same thing. Now, if you are doing something called melt and pour soap making, where you're buying the kind of soap that is already made and you're literally melting it down, adding your scents and letting it dry, you don't have to let it cure because that soap has already been made. So somebody already did the work for you of ensuring that there is thank you. Someone has already done the work of ensuring that there's enough lye in that product. You have a pen, maybe? All right, let me just. Here's your camera. Let me see a picture of my phone.
I was gonna say, I sent myself the link. Type it
All right.
So one time, how this office here,
Yeah,
and high space and like, come to work every day.
people do that all the
in.
time.
That's what this space is for.
Yes.
It's a nice place.
That's why if you go,
Quiet.
it's like Shell.
Yeah, during the
little
work
shops.
week.
There's one that's like a retail shop. The lady sells like purses.
Oh yeah, that's new. She's new. She's closed.
Yeah.
But it's not a public place. It's like eBay.
Yeah. But it's just where she stores her stuff.
So I can see why people would rent it and just have like a a cooking show here.
Ooh.
I mean, I could see that like they just renting out this space for work purpose, and they just have like a live stream or
Yeah. No,
or
this is
YouTube,
awesome because like there are people here who like literally their whole company comes to work here, and they have like like not a floor, but they'll have like an office space rented out. There's tiny offices for individuals. There's big offices for people that have more larger teams, and then they do events here. A lot of like tech meetups that meet up at the Cannon, so it's a cool place to be.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, and they have about 3 locations in Houston. So this is the one in West Houston, the big old one. They have one in downtown, and there's one in the Galleria.
Wow.
I think they're expanding to other cities. There's one in Galveston. I think they have one in Dallas, maybe Austin. So, well, yeah, they have a coffee shop that's open Monday through Friday. But they could if they wanted to.
Like if I want to order open like a pizza shop,
Yeah,
Monday through Friday.
they actually have co-working spaces that are tailored towards cooking.
cooking.
So, yeah, that's a thing. They're called ghost kitchens.
And they won't be so
Yeah.
expensive.
Not as expensive as having your own full restaurant.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right.
Okay.
So, what I'm gonna do next is now that I updated the recipe, and I'm gonna write it down so I don't have to look at my phone while I do this.
But last time you did it straight.
That is correct. And this time,
Only today you only have one.
and also this time, I have pregnancy brain, which is what happens after you have a baby. You kind of forget a lot of things. And so that's what I'm also going to call it too. We have lye, oil is 4.07 OZ, and then lye is 2.0, and then the oil is going to be 14 ounces. All right, cool stuff. All right, guys. Okay, I love rolling with the punches. I love moving around, moving and grooving. So now we're back, and I'm going to measure out the water. And so I'm going to, thank you, measure out 4.07 ounces of water. So typically we're going to use distilled water to do this part. The cool part about soap making is that the lick that you use can vary. So I've done soap where I've used beer as the liquid. I've made soap where I've used coconut oil or coconut milk rather as the liquid, almond milk as the liquid. There are people who use wine, aloe vera juice.
Wine would be good.
Wine soap would be good, you say, Mom?
Yeah.
Let me do a little splash more of water in here. So you want to get the water to be as close as you can get, 4.07.
How much?
So this, 4.07 ounces by weight of pure water. Okay. And then, so here's the water. I'm gonna put this to the side. And then I have a smaller container for us to measure out the lye. And so I'm going to put my gloves on for this part because this is the part that is dangerous. This is the part that freaked me out the most whenever I was getting started and I looked at the YouTube video and said, nope, I'm not going to be the person that burns down my apartment trying to figure out how to make this. So let me go find, yes. Let me go get some help. So this is sodium hydroxide. This is a new container, but.
And how do you get sodium hydroxide? Just in a chemistry store online?
Correct. So this is food grade lye, and I got this from Amazon.
Okay.
And it's sold as lye for soap making, or lye for custom making. But 100% food grade lye. Don't use anything that is not 100% lye. Sometimes you'll see 99% or 90%. Don't get those because whatever the extra stuff is inside of there, you don't want that to be in your soap.
Right.
Yeah, and it's also sold as drain cleaner, like I mentioned, and so you don't want to get a lye that has anything extra that's meant to be a drain cleaner.
That's the 100%.
Yeah, 100% lye. So I'm gonna measure out 1.82 ounces.
Thanks for the part in San Francisco. I still had it in my wallet from last time.
All right, so this is 1.3. I'm gonna get 1.82. And when you're measuring out the lye, you want that to be perfect. If you measure out too much lye, you're gonna have that "don't touch me," you're gonna burn somebody's soap. So this has to be exact.
So it has to be at how much? Like 4 point.
Well, at the ratio to wherever the quantity you're measuring is to the water. So it's not necessarily a precise measurement as to what this is, but depending on what you're making and the ratio to how much water you have, so you have the correct percentage of absorption.
And we certainly go deep dive into my one-on-one class where we can talk more deeply about how we determine how much lye to add. But there is a calculator that you can use online that I walk people through how to use that essentially will tell you the perfect amount of lye to add to oils that you choose in your soap to turn it into soap. Yeah, so there's a little bit of calculation to it, but they have calculators online that do the math for you. But it's always good to know how to do it yourself.
Okay, so there is some calculation for that lye process.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this
Yeah,
is
that's how you reach that number is
So now I have my distilled water, I have my lye, and we're going to combine these two together to create our lye and water solution. And we're going to do this outside because inside is a little too dangerous to do something like that. So I'm going to grab my safety goggles and put these on.
Oh, and the door's open, but they're off a button that's locked with a key.
Okay.
So you could leave it open, kind of like hold the door for you.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, let's go outside.
Oh no, I'm at the garage door.
Let's mix this lye. So you can unplug and maybe grab the Instagram live stream. And you are magnetic. There you go. Grab the live stream and then go outside. Cool. All right. Yay. So now come with me and we're going to go outside. Outside? Yeah. We're going to mix together our lye.
Oh, so you always have to mix it outside.
You always have to mix it in a place with a lot of ventilation. Yes. So you don't have to open it. You have to.
Yeah. Well, she'll open it. It's okay.
Right.
Oh, you're taking care of it, babe.
Yeah.
So, come on. Everybody? Howdy. So what I have here is I have distilled water and sodium hydroxide. You want to get closer? Get in on the action. So I'm outside and I'm in a place with a lot of ventilation. And so I'm going to take this sodium hydroxide and I'm going to slowly pour it into this water. Cool. And for those who are outside with me here, it is smelling real funky. So don't get too close, but you might be able to just kind of smell some of that off gas. This is a natural part of the process of water or really any liquid combining with sodium hydroxide. Also, something else is the chemical reaction itself is exothermic, which means it releases heat. So the bottom of this cup is really, really hot now. So that's why we start off with cold water, just to give us the opportunity to kind of keep the temperatures in a reasonable spot. So I'm gonna mix this and mix it until this mixture is clear. And so it's still pretty cloudy, but I'm gonna gently mix this. Woo! And this part takes a few like a minute or two sometimes. It's not a huge, like if I was doing a huge batch of soap, I'd have a big old water and lye mixture. This is a smaller 1 pound batch, so this shouldn't take too long before it turns into a more clear solution. Cool. And you want to touch the bottom of it to just kind of feel the warmth?
Okay.
Yeah, it gets to about 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So, yes.
I can see why the gloves there.
Yeah.
It's like boiling.
Yeah, pretty much. Extremely hot.
Wow.
Caustic. And extremely basic.
To
Yeah. That's the part of why this is a demo and not hands-on. So in the hands-on class, you are going to be the person that is pouring the lye into the water, mixing it yourself, wielding all the pieces. But I think it's so valuable to have the demonstration so you can see it first, absorb what's happening before you jump into doing it yourself.
Yeah, the first time you're dealing with hazardous chemical and its reaction and handling is not going to be the first time you're also making soap and using the equipment in your kitchen and in your space.
All right, so we look good here. We're gonna head back inside. So it's mostly clear. It looks like something from the elements may have dropped in, but I have a strainer that I use when I pour that will get us out. And I think if you just touch my phone to the keypad, you should be able to open
it. Well, you have to have the settings to where it'll do it.
Open. Thank you.
Yeah. There's a way to do it.
It should be in the... Oh, okay.
It's not in.
Look in the zipper. There's the little topper is in the side pocket. Thank you, Grandma. All right. So look at it now.
Here, hold on.
All right, Papa's on his way. This is awesome, man. It's a beautiful day. Like, it is a really nice day outside. I don't know if you love fall the way that I do.
Oh, I do.
So happy it's not summer anymore. It was too hot. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it gets hotter every year. Are you from around here?
Yeah, I'm from around here, but yeah, it feels hotter every year, but maybe it's just me or maybe just short term memory. I don't know.
I'm trying to figure it out too because it is not comfortable. I am just too hot.
But it has gotten colder like a bit earlier than Houston standard, so maybe that's.
I welcome it. It should start getting cold by August if I had it my way. Oh my gosh. All right. So this is an immersion blender, also known as a stick blender.
Do you need to get it?
So when I make soap traditionally, if you don't use this, your process is going to take a long time.
Oh.
A very long time, but I'm not going to tell you you need one of these. This will speed you up.
Okay.
Tremendously.
They're also like anywhere from like $10 to $30. I mean, they're not very. You can get them secondhand. I mean, you can go.
Get these secondhand for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But this speeds things up.
Like a Goodwill or Salvation or something like that. But they're all over the place and they're pretty handy or universal. Amazon, even cheaper probably.
So that's like a machine blender?
Yeah, it's just a blender.
It's an immersion blender, a stick blender, and this is one of the best ways to kind of speed up your process. Without it, you're going to be mixing for 4 hours to get the texture that you need it to be.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So since we're doing a cold process class, can you see inside of my pot at all?
No.
Let me scoot up a little bit, and then you can scoot up too.
Yep. Yeah. Actually, that's perfect.
See inside?
Yeah.
And so let me get this out of the way. And so in a hot process class, if I had my topper, what I would do is I would pour this in here. The crock pot would still be on high, and then it would boil and turn into soap. I'm doing it cold process, which is a little different. And so instead of having the soap cook through, we're going to work with it in its more liquid state. Cold process, you asked, what does cold mean versus hot? Part of it means that we are going to let saponification take place over a longer period of time versus pushing saponification to happen immediately through adding
So I
bleach.
won't see the soap, but just sometime today.
Yeah. So you're learning a lot right now. So
Okay.
you're getting like the entire rundown. So what I'm gonna do is I'm taking my I have a strainer here, and I'm going to pour my lye and water solution through the strainer just to make sure that any large particles that may not have been dissolved don't end up in our final bar. And then I'll put this to the side. And I just need one of these, not two. I'm gonna pick the green one. Green's a good color. It's a green kind of day. And I'm going to mix this by hand. So if you look inside the pot, you'll see that like the green of the olive oil is combining with the lye and water solution, and it's getting to like this kind of a lighter yellowy color. And the smell is really good. This is like one of my favorite parts of soap making is just like smelling the mixture coming together. So I'm mixing it by hand first. I like to incorporate it to ensure that, hey, we get as much of all these goodies mixed together as we can. And then the next thing I'm gonna do is incorporate that stick blender. So we've got this to a nice texture. It is thickening up. So I'm gonna put this to the side. I know for sure I'm gonna want to add in some essential oil, so I'm gonna get to that pretty soon. And I'm gonna turn on the stick blender and start mixing this solution. So I put the stick blender in at an angle to make sure that I don't have too many bubbles. And then I turn it on. Ready? 1, 2, 3, ba-bam! And, oops. First I gotta plug it in. And now, for real, this time. 1, 2, 3, ba-bam. Can you see? And feel free to come around if you want to look too.
I'm just a bit concerned that I don't want something to splash on me.
Oh, yeah. And that's the beauty of trying to keep this low, is to prevent the splashes. But yes, I don't want you to get splashed either. So I'm taking my stick blender and I am mixing this up. And I really mean it. Like, I've made so much soap and it's still fun every time. Like, I am just, I don't know, man. This is too cool. Okay, so tell me about what you see.
Kind of thick or soup-like.
Yeah.
It looks soup-like though, which you don't want to drink.
No. You're right. You don't want to drink that.
Don't drink me soup.
Don't drink me. Don't touch me, soup. Don't drink me soup. What I have here is some Spanish rosemary. So I'm going to add a splash of this. This is essential oil. So I'm going to add a splash of this into the pot here.
That's where the scent.
This is where the scent's coming from. Yeah, and I like to use essential oils when possible, but I don't mind fragrance oils either. Essential oils come from plants and flowers that are found naturally in nature that produce essential oils. So like lemon's a good example. Whenever you pull a lemon or an orange off of its rind, that kind of, I don't know if you ever get like that like little spray that comes when you peel the skin back. That's the essential oil of an orange or some kind of citrus fruit. Not everything has an essential oil. So strawberry, for instance, if you want strawberry scented soap, there isn't an essential oil for strawberry, so you're going to have to use a fragrance for that. I'm not super picky, but there are some people who are totally into natural only, which is great. But why not have some fun? Have a little chocolate scented soap here and a little bit of mojito scented soap there.
I'm sure there's a lot of smells all over.
There
So,
are.
oh yeah, so there's no right or wrong.
There's no right or wrong. It really is, what is local to you, and then going from there. So what we're hoping to get to is a state called trace in the soap making world. So trace is the point where you kind of pick up your soap and you see the traces of it as it falls on top of itself, kind of like little ribbons. You want to see little ribbons, like a pancake batter kind of texture is what we're going for here. We're kind of there. I'm picking up the soap and dropping it, and I kind of see the traces of it. And the reason why you want to get to trace is because it's possible for your soap mixture to look like this, but not actually be mixed, and it'll fall apart and turn back into the lye water and oil. So you want to really make sure it's mixed well before you move on. Yeah, mixed. I won't even say it can't be too mixed. The texture will change.
Okay.
And so some soap makers who like to add a lot of colors to their soap, they want it to be this kind of wet texture. So that way you can add a lot of colors to it. You can work with it, do a lot of swirls, whereas others, not so much. It really kind of depends on what your end goal is. For me today, I'm not adding colors to the soap, just adding essential oils. It's going to be a white soap, and I'm going to pour it into the silicone mold.
So it isn't. So I'm trying to figure out the whole tracing or riveting part. So it's kind of like has to show like bubbles or like clumps.
If you can come in a little closer, see what I'll do is I'm going to pick up this soap, and then I'm going to kind of drop it on top, and you can kind of see that it's holding its shape.
Okay.
A little bit as you kind of see the outline of it.
Oh, I think I know what you mean. Kind of like leave some mark.
Leave some mark.
Okay.
That's right. And I'm gonna mix it a little more because I like a thicker trace. Now, I think it'll be easier for you to see the trace at this point. So I did a little bit more mixing, and now whenever I pick this up and drop it, you see the marks.
Okay, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So that first one was a light trace, which is good for different recipes. So there's so much nuance to soap making. If I were using hard oils, like if I had a recipe that was coconut oil, palm oil, shea butter, those thick things, I'm going to want to work at a little bit of a lighter trace because I don't want my soap to harden up too fast if I was going to add a lot of colors to it for the whole process method. Meanwhile, because I'm using a single oil olive oil, that's a light oil, and a liquid oil, it takes a little longer for it to thicken up, and it stays at this texture longer than if I were using hard oils. And we go into this a little bit into the private class that I teach, but in the private class, I have just like we do a recipe that uses multiple oils. So that way you get an opportunity to kind of measure out 3 to 5 different oils and really get an opportunity to kind of try it out more, like more advanced soap making in that. But I'm glad you're here for the demo first. So I'm gonna kind of mix it around. I think this is mixed really well. I don't think I have a false trace. And so because I am doing the whole process, we are essentially at the end of the process. It's pretty cool. So I have a soap mold here. And so this is made up of a silicone mold that's like meant for soap making. And then I gave it a structure by making this cardboard walls around it to give it some sturdiness to it. And that's like one of the other parts about being a soap maker is you can make a mold out of pretty much anything. If you're at home and you're just getting started, empty yogurt containers make really good soap molds if you don't want to invest in buying silicone molds right off the bat. You can make a mold with cardboard and you can line it with freezer paper and use that as a soap mold too. My soap mold was a shoebox. And I lined it with freezer paper, and that was like the best soap I ever made. I loved it. My first batch. I'm done. All right. So now we see this nice, beautiful, textured, Castile 100% olive oil soap. I'm going to scrape down the sides, and I'm going to simply pour it to this lovely silicone mold here. So let's see if we can get this.
So it could be just any mold. It doesn't have to be like silicone.
So you want it to be silicone, or you want it to be covered. If it's not silicone and you're going to use cardboard, cover it in freezer paper so that way you can release it. I do not recommend glass. It's going to stick. Definitely 1,000% never in your life put it in aluminum because aluminum will have a very bad reaction with lye. It's going to give off like a dark, bad odor. And you're going to have a very bad time.
Good to know.
Might hurt yourself and others in the area. Never use anything aluminum when you're making soap from scratch. Ever. Never use aluminum. But you want your mold to be something that is flexible. And even on that too, when you're making soap at home for the first time, or even if this is going to be your hobby, your escape, your creative release, make sure that you have separate dedicated materials in your home that are only for soap making and not anything else, so you don't cross-contaminate. And honestly, that's what inspired me to really just like revamp the private classes and give people all the materials they need. Because the last thing I want is somebody to just be like, oh, I have a crock pot, let me just go ahead and use that. And you eat from that. You definitely don't want to make soap out of it too. So it's important to just have dedicated materials for exactly what you need it to do.
Go one way, not the other. Like maybe use an old crock pot and clean it well and use it, but then don't use the food out.
Exactly.
But it's just easier to buy one that's dedicated.
It's just better, and the thing about soap making is it's so addictive too that you're gonna want to just like have all your stuff. Like, I don't know, is this convincing you that you want to make some of this at home?
Well, definitely make me want to sign up to your class. That's for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah. So even if you clean the pots, it's not risky.
No,
Don't
recommended.
risk
No.
it. And it's because you are continually using sodium hydroxide, so
Yeah,
you
so
really
there's some
you don't want the
tiny
trace of that to
residue,
be.
some trace.
Yeah.
And let's say, oh, it's fine, and then 10 years later, you
Yeah,
got pork
I mean,
cancer or something.
So
Yeah, I don't want to.
if you're going to make soap this way in the full process method, you can use stainless steel. You can use plastic. You can use silicone. You want to be careful using anything that absorbs. I see some soap makers use Pyrex glass to accept high temperatures. I wouldn't even use glass though to make soap, honestly. I just think you have too much opportunity to go from cool temperature to hot temperature to where that glass is going to burst.
Right.
And I've seen that happen to other people who have shared their stories of, hey, I mixed lime water in this glass, and now I have this giant caustic mess in my garage that it's both broken glass and it's lye. So that's the problem there.
And never aluminum because of the reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's one thing you take away today, never aluminum. I'll be the happiest person because you're going to save yourself and others. And so there you have it, America, Houston people. This is how simple it can be to make soap, especially when you have all of the ingredients, all of the materials. Even if you don't have everything you need, you can still improvise and have a nice, amazing batch of soap. So what happens next, you might be asking? Well, this soap is still in its wet state. It's still warm. What we'll do for this whole process soap is we're actually going to, put this in an area where it can chill out for about 4 weeks, and then it'll be ready to use. I think what I'll do is I'll check on it after a day or two, and I'll cut it into slices, and then let those slices dry out for the remainder of the couple of weeks. So this is cold process soap making. I'm going to put this to the side here. What I've done is I actually brought a loaf of soap that we made all the way 1 year ago in this meetup. And so we made this lavender soap.
You're gonna Martha Stewart us and pull it out.
Oh, yeah,
Through the magic of television and editing.
So this is actually a lavender soap that we made as in the demo last time with lavender on top. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out and just show you like how I'm going to cut that soap. And then we'll be mostly done. I'm going to just.
So you don't refrigerate the soap, you just leave it like room
You
temperature,
don't need
or
to refrigerate soap. If anything, let's say you are trying to get your soap out of the mold and it's stuck, you can put that in the freezer and that'll help the soap pop out. But you don't need to refrigerate it.
does the process go faster if you put in the freezer, or no?
There's no way to speed it up.
No way.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah,
way. So
it's
the
hardening.
fastest way-
It's not necessary. It is cool by reaction. It is cooling, but what it's actually doing is hardening, not actually
It's hardening.
like
And
cooking. You
at
know,
the same time, the process of saponification is happening.
Okay.
So saponification means the amount of lye in this bottle here that is necessary to change an ounce of oil here into soap.
Okay.
And so that's like the way to describe it. So with this soap here that we have that is still wet, there's still lye in this soap. Once it dries and cures, I'm going to say within 24 hours, like 95% of the lye is gone. A better way I can describe this is, so think of any two things that come together and make something brand new.
Gotcha.
Right? So if you have blue dye and you have yellow dye, it comes together and makes green dye. You can't take the blue and the yellow out.
Right.
They don't exist anymore. It's something new. And the same
yeah, you don't
is
see the
with-
two separately anymore. You see the mixture, and there's either more of or less than of, but it's still together one
Right, it's a
thing.
new thing.
Yeah.
And so it's like that with
That's
this,
that's a
what you have
perfect way to
here.
define it.
And so you have lye, you have water, you have oil. Because we mix it up, they're currently creating bonds with each other chemically. And
Right.
so once all of the lye has bonded with all of the oil inside of this, there is no more lye left. Because when it bonds with oil, it turns to soap.
Okay, so my other question is, can you, like, for safety purposes, like, do you cover like the top so that anyone doesn't mess around, like little siblings or?
1,000%.
Yeah, cover it. Yeah.
So some
Okay.
soap
Yeah, there's
makers
no
will
gas
take
or, like-
this, they'll
Okay.
cover it and they'll wrap it in a blanket even,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll put it on a shelf and they'll just let it do its thing, and then they'll check on it, and then once it's completely dry, they'll leave it in open air
Okay.
and then let it continue drying until it's fully cured.
Okay, I see. Because I'm not sure how acidic, if someone just dip some finger in there, it's like, well,
Yeah.
it immediately burn,
Yeah.
or it's just kind of
And great thing.
irritated.
So I'm going to teach you some soap making terminology. Soap is basic.
Right.
No, it's basic. It's not acidic. So acidic is vinegar. Basic and acidic could still burn you. They just do it differently. But this is, so right now, this soap is probably like at a 14 on the pH scale. which means it's extremely basic. It's going to burn you.
Mm.
Once the lye interacts with the oil and turns this into soap over the next 24 to 48 hours, it's going to go from a pH of 14 to about a pH of 10. And that's safer for skin. So when it's all said and done, the pH of soap tends to be around 10 or less. And that's safe for human skin. I think skin pH is like, I think it's 6, like 6.5 or so. Skin is a little acidic. So using soap is good for your skin. Helps balance things out. And obviously, if you have questions about your skincare, talk to your dermatologist. All right.
More or less pH.
Yes. So I've got the wet soap here. This wet rosemary soap. I'm going to move that to the side. And then I have in my hands here this lavender soap. And it's actually, this is also, I believe, 100% Castile soap that we made at the last meetup. And I'm going to slice right in so you can just kind of see after a year how hard of a bar we've made here. So it's pretty hard. And actually, yeah, thanks for coming. Here you go.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's lavender. Well, you tell me. Do you think it smells good?
Yeah, it smells good.
Yeah, I need something to go on.
Okay. Any
Don't
takers?
worry, we haven't-
Any takers for soap? All right.
We haven't forgot about you.
I've not forgot about you, Julie. I'm gonna cut you a piece as well. And but really, today is also a holiday.
Remember the one we did last time?
Okay.
I
Okay.
used it already.
I will not forget about you. I will not forget about you. But today is a holiday. Today is actually Make a Difference Day. I learned. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to actually be cutting this into smaller pieces and donating this soap to the Shape Community Center. Yes, and so I was following them on Instagram, and it's a local charity here in the Houston area, and they actually provide food, services, and even baths to people who are in need. And so I thought, why not?
Yeah, I know
you
Shape
know,
Community.
Oh, thank you. So some people know about Shape Community Center here. And so what I wanted to do is cut this up and make a donation. And also to the soap that we've made today, once it's cured and ready for use, I'm also going to chop this up and donate it to the Shape Community Center as well. So yay, it's always good to give back. Yep, it starts with a loaf and another loaf and another loaf.
Yeah.
And, my dream for Superpower Soap and for this meetup is for it to grow and build. And who knows, maybe you'll come again, or more people will be here and we'll learn the process of soap making, and we can make soap together as a community and do bigger donations to other groups in need here in Houston. So soap is a vital part of day-to-day life. Any country you're in the world, people use soap and they need soap. So why not learn how to make it and share it with our fellow person in need? So that's where this soap is going. And I'm very happy to be slicing it and knowing that it's going to go to people who may not know the joys and the benefits of using handmade soap, but will have a little bit of, a little nice surprise in a tough time in their life.
You want to eat more?
Can we cut this?
So won't have to worry about the skin.
Yeah. Have a little slice of luxury, And just cut these in a hotel size.
Yeah, I really am surprised that the soap making process isn't just like right away. I mean, maybe that's just the magic of TV, but wow, that it just takes a pretty long while.
Yeah, a little bit of time. And like I said, it is a debated topic. Like the
Yeah.
cold process, like there are places where you
like
take
this.
it right away, and
Yeah, and so
Bake and
Especially
take.
if you are making like a product, it does I can see why it's a process for if you want to sell it. It's like
it's like you're not making
Thank
it for
you.
the one time. You're trying to make it repeatable, a process to do with a lot of people over and over again to keep
that's what it's about.
a lot of people.
If you're doing it as a product, you are going to have a whole different method of this.
it's a supply chain.
Yeah, you're going to have a nice, clean facility that you're going to do this in. You're going to write down where you're getting your products from. you're going to have a supply log so you can track down any issues that might happen. What if there's a recall of the olive oil? You need to know.
To get certified or to get,
you
you have to have ingredient list. You have to.
And that's something, I guess, as a safety person, I'm also very well versed in too. So I do keep track of all the materials that I use, just because it's GMP, good manufacturing practices, type of thing. You know, you want to manufacture things well. And if you have a store and you're selling things, you do need more consistency. You want to be testing more.
And you want to know where you're getting your stuff from, like for safety purposes, something that's consistent, repeatable, that's going to have the same outcome every single time, not strong lie this time, weak lie the next time, and you're going to be in trouble. Like
you're going to experiment, and also you want to figure out what you enjoy making. You know, you might really like this cold process.
Yeah, or hot process.
I do want to try the hot process the next time, and I think that's where I'll take your class.
Yeah, that's what I teach in the class. I actually don't teach cold process because I just don't really find it to be as fun as hot process. I think also when I learned soap making, I learned hot process first. And so to me, that was like, that's what I want. But cold process is great. Like when you see soap that has a lot of different colors and swirls, and you can see it's even getting really thick in here too. So it's starting to set. It's going to take time, but it is starting to set in here, and it's thickening up. But when you see people that have a lot of intricate designs and colors, it's a cold process. So 9 times out of 10. You can get that out of a hot process, but it's a thicker kind of soap. And you can add things to it to make it more fluid. But, you know, no matter how you get from point A to point B, the end result is still going to be soap. All right. And that is my whole live stream and class for the online edition today. So thank you for joining the reboot of Superpower Soap, back in action for 2022. Yay! And I look forward to seeing you when I do this again. God willing, we'll be here in another month, and we'll have another class, and I'll teach you hot process soap making. So thank you for your time, and have a great, beautiful Saturday. Oh, thank you. Woo! I am.